You need a spiral Ethernet cable, but you don't want to spend 20 bucks for buying one. In this video, I will show you how to turn any cable into a spring spiral cord. So stay tuned. We can buy a regular Ethernet cable for about 7 bucks pretty much anywhere, but if you want a spiral cable, you will need to pay way more for the same length of cable. But the good news is, in this video, I will show you how to turn any regular cable into a spiral one with simple tools. So the first item that you will need is obviously an Ethernet cable. You will need a heat gun, a steel rod or any kind of straight rod long enough for your cable, and a drill. You can obviously use a hair dryer instead of a heat gun, but with a hair dryer you will need more time before the cable reach the right temperature. You also can use something else than a steel rod. You can use a wood stick or a plastic, rigid enough so it doesn't bend. And you don't have to use a drill, but the heat is spread more evenly when you have a steady rotation. As you can see, I'm using electrical tape to secure the hand of the cable, but you can use pretty much anything you want. But don't forget that there will be a lot of heat, so make sure that the thing you will use will be strong enough and won't melt. So you can't use regular Scotch tape because it will melt. When you're securing the end of your cable, you need to make sure to place it the way you want it as a result, because after the process will be done, it will stay the way you install it in the first place. So be sure to do it right before you start. So the secret to have a good spiral is to go slowly with a regular pace and keep the cable tight in all time. Of course, for doing this, you need your drill to have a progressive trigger, so you cannot do that with a cheap drill that is only on and off trigger, because it will be too fast and you will hurt yourself. As you can see, I was going too fast, and the gap between the spiral are not even, and I let go on the tension, so I even have some loose. So be gentle and go slowly when you do that, so your spiral will be very tight and you don't get any loose. As you can see, the last part of my spiral is more tight because I was going slowly. But unfortunately for this example, my rod was not long enough, so I will have a piece of cable who won't fit on the rod. So when you do this, make sure to have a stick long enough or a rod long enough so your cable is completely wrapped around the rod or around the stick. But for this example, I will just terminate the cable there and just stick the rest of the cable around the chuck of the drill so it doesn't fly in the air while the drill will spin. Just a side note here for my old subscribers who wonder why I'm not listening music anymore when I'm doing this stuff, those videos, is because every time I was doing it, YouTube were hitting me with a copyright legal stuff. So now I have to do my work in silence. Thank you very much, YouTube. Now that both ends of the cable are secured on the rod and the rod's tight on the drill, it's now time to heat the cable. When you do that, it's important to keep moving at all times. If you stop at one spot for too long, you will melt the cable. So keep moving, not fast. You can go slow but at a steady pace, always moving, so the heat is spread as even as possible. I will speed up the process a bit, but I heated that cable for about 4 minutes and a half. Of course, if you are using an air dryer, you can easily double that time, but I'm judging of the right temperature just by touching the cable. And as you can see, the first time I touched it, it was hot. It was very hot, but not hot enough. You don't want to melt the cable, obviously, but you want it to be hot enough to change the property of the molecule in the plastic. Now that we have done heating that cable, it is now time to let it cool. So you have several options in here. You can let it cool down on the counter, but it will take at least an hour. You can also put that in the freezer, which will speed up the process. Or you can do what I did. I put it outside since it was minus 20 degrees Celsius today. We're in the winter, so after 5 minutes, it was very cold. It is now time to take it out of the rod, and as you can see straight away, the end of the cable that was not wrapped around the rod looked pretty ugly. So if you do this project, don't make the same mistake that I've made, and take a stick or a rod long enough so all your cables fitting on it, so you will have two clean ends and not one end of the cable ugly like this one. Since I've applied a certain amount of heat on the electrical tape that I've used, it's kind of cooked on the rod, but it's still removable, but more harder to find the end of the tape. Now it's time to slide the cable out of the rod. As you can see, even if the rod is threaded, it slides out pretty easily. And we have a spiral spring Ethernet cable. So this is it, guys. We've just made a spiral Ethernet cable for free. I had one laying down at home doing nothing. And as you can see, it is RG45 connectors. It's getting in. It's a real Ethernet cable. And we saved the trouble of buying one, waiting for one in the shipping, and we saved 20 bucks. So on this, I wish everybody Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel, and see you later. Goodbye.